It never ceases to amaze me that anyone shopping for groceries will have the choice to buy hard liquor and cigarettes along with the milk and bread. Not that I have anything against those things, but in the 90s, it was the legal substances of alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceutical drugs that affected my life forever. In 1994, at age 32, my close friend passed away from pancreatic cancer. He had been 5 years sober, religiously attending AA meetings. Although cancer runs in his family, it will always be my opinion that the non-stop chain smoking played a major role in his sickness.
So although 10,000 people died last year from their use of cocaine and heroin, it's estimated that 450,000 died from their use of tobacco.
A few years later, at age 47, my brother Kurt suffered a seizure caused by years and years of taking legal pharmaceutical medications used to control his schizophrenia.
It's estimated that 100,000 people died last year from their use of legal prescription drugs.
My mom, who had battled diabetes for many years, started drinking harder after Kurt's death. And even after surviving an almost complete liver failure, was still unable to quit drinking and lost her life in 2001. And not long after my mom's passing, my dad's drinking finally caught up to him. But luckily for my dad, he told me that the dialysis machine allowed him to drink way more than ever because of how it filtered the alcohol.
It's estimated that 150,000 people died last year from their use of alcohol. And I'm not talking now about drinking and driving. I'm talking about just the health consequence of drinking. I'm sure that there are a few people that died last year from their use of marijuana, but there are no documented deaths as a result of people smoking marijuana.
Perhaps the most absurd aspect of the drug war is the continuing battle over the legalization of medical marijuana.
They're trying like crazy to come up with pills to help with chemotherapy and HIV. I mean, these are serious illnesses.
For cancer survivor Todd McCormick, the right to use medical marijuana has been a lifelong struggle. Todd spent 5 years in the Victorville prison in a cell coincidentally right next to Freeway Ricky Ross. Todd was not caught selling marijuana. He was arrested for giving it away for free to dying people who were not able to afford it.
When I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with histiocytosis X. I suffered through 10 major lesions of these histiocytites between the ages of 2 and 10, and I started using cannabis to effectively treat the nausea and the side effects.
As insignificant as it may seem to most people, this controversy cuts to the very core of our constitutional right to consume any drug prescribed by a doctor.
You know, cancer, AIDS, you know, and they still, all this cancer research, they haven't come up with anything that even compares to what marijuana does.
Many argue there's little evidence that marijuana has medical value.
It's a handful of people who want to see not just marijuana, but all drugs legalized. A drug, of course they feel good. That's why they take a drug. Does that mean it's medicine? Does that mean that it cures the situation? No, it doesn't.
Why is our government spending billions of our tax dollars every year to stop people from growing a plant that helps the side effects of chemotherapy?
You're looking at pharmaceuticals. This is a multi-billion dollar industry. But if you look at all the pain medications, all of the drugs that we use, probably 80% of them could be eliminated by people using cannabis.
Meet Dr. Claudia Jensen. She might look like a soccer mom and most certainly does not get high. But when it comes to giving her patients what she believes to be the best medicine available, she is not afraid of the bullies in Washington who fight so hard to protect their interests.
You even testified before Congress a few weeks ago on the use of medical marijuana. What led you to the conclusion that this is a viable treatment for this disorder?
Well, that's what patients reported to me, so I listened to them.
Marijuana doesn't kill your liver, doesn't damage your kidneys, doesn't cause ulcers. It can increase risk of respiratory problems, bronchitis, and pneumonia. The risk of cancer is not significantly different, very minimal increase in risk for cancer. It just generally does not have a death profile.
As they say, life imitates art, as I received word that my dad had been diagnosed with throat cancer. I had never even seen my dad smoke, but his 40-year-old 2-pack-a-day habit reared its ugly head. Ironic, because he drank enough Smirnoff vodka to drown a Russian battalion, but now his life was threatened by something we'd never expected. I mean, my mom and dad voted for Nixon, and they were happy about it even after Watergate. We're proud that they voted for Nixon. They voted for Reagan. They voted for Bush 1, voted for Bush 2. You know, I mean, when I bring up marijuana to my dad, he just rolls his eyes, you know, while he's sitting there drinking his Smirnoff.
Getting through to someone like your father is, to me, I mean, something that almost he would have to experience on his own. I mean, until the barricades that he set up mentally come down, and he wants to open his mind to what you're bringing him with this information.
Everything in our bodies is regulated by marijuana-like compounds that our bodies produce. So whether you're talking about the immune system, the nervous system, the digestive system, reproductive system, endocrine system, all of these coordinated body functions are regulated in a homeostatic manner by cannabinoids.
In Southern California, you need not drive far to find a medical marijuana dispensary, but because of the continuing tenuous laws, the DEA still performs random busts. It was not easy, but my friend Joe Rogan of Fear Factor was able to convince them that I could be trusted and gained our camera some access.
Well, what we try to do when members come in here is that we try to give them an introduction as to what is available.
Paul Scott runs a dispensary and knows all too well the risks he faced for doing so, but Paul has AIDS and remembers the sacrifices made by the people before him.
My friends were dying. Brain cancer, you know, it was the people early on who were dying, and most people who helped start that Oakland Cannabis Club are dead. Something that could alleviate the nausea, something that if you're in the house and you're light sensitive because of the side effects, you can at least desire something to eat.
For somebody that's older, and well, there's no way they're going to smoke some marijuana with you, you know. Put it in a little brownie and or a little chocolate chip cookie or something that they like, and let them eat it and let them discover the effects of it in a sense on their own.
Again, these are the different delivery methods of being able to eat the cannabis without smoking it. So if the grandfather who's at home, nauseated and in bed and on eating, there is something that you're able to give them that's well tolerated and that will be on beneficial side effects of eating and feeling just a little bit better that day.
Big business does not want us to know that we can cure cancer forever at very low cost.
Dear old Donnie Rumsfeld, you know, our chief torturer, chief liar on 9/11, one of the chief liars, was the CEO of Searle Pharmaceuticals. Why would the pharmaceutical companies want you to be able to grow a plant in your backyard that might cure your menstrual cramps, might solve your headache, might give a terminally ill cancer patient, you know, some chance at gaining some weight and having a tiny quality of life? If you can grow that in your backyard, there's no net profit for corporations, and we already know what net profit means to stock prices.
10 states have passed laws permitting the use of medical marijuana, but today the court ruled that the federal ban on marijuana supersedes those state laws. Polling has shown that a large majority of Americans consistently support the use of medical marijuana. Still, in a 6-3 decision, the justices said that federal authorities may prosecute sick people who use marijuana, even if it's at the direction of a doctor.
Here we are in the modern world where sick people of all colors fear incarceration because of the medicine they use. Is their plight helped or hurt by what I consider to be the most honest of all pot smokers, people who just want to get high?
So awesome. How's tobacco? Hello, NBC.